Hello everyone, name is Max Aaron James. It is around noon. I slept in a bit, which I don't like because half the day is pretty much gone. I mean, half the day is gone, right? Technically. I went to End Vegan last night, as you saw. That's pretty much the only time or the only reason I would go to Atlantic Station, unless I'm going to the movies. And even then, I only go to that theater when it's free, right? I have like a ticket for a screening, something like that. Otherwise, I don't really shop like that in malls or shopping centers. Usually I'm getting something, usually clothing, I definitely buy from people I know or meet, friends, right? Like even now, I'm wearing shorts that my sister made. I have a t-shirt underneath that is from another artist that I met. She's from Cali and she moved here to Atlanta, and that's where I met her and found out about that. And as far as the sweater though, you can look at it. It says learn to code. I've had this since 2014. I bought it in March of 2014 during the Deep Web Tour, Childish Gambino. If you know, you know. Anyway, I am looking for shoes or someone, a small company that manufactures, produces, sells shoes, right? I'm not trying to buy a major brand. I'm trying to support local or small businesses, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. But shoes are probably the most difficult to find, right? Anyway, I wanted to share just a quick little thing. It might take like just 30 seconds, so hear me out. I thought of an idea with someone, right? I was with someone. Let me backtrack. I'm totally all over the place. So one fun thing I like to do with someone is we'll listen to certain songs and we'll think of what scene would this song fit into, right, in a movie or show. And there's one particular song that I thought of. I described something and she expressed that it was good, it sounded pretty cool, and then I thought that would actually make a good story, right? It's not something I've seen, right? There have been elements of it in other shows or movies, even video games, and that's the first thing that came to mind was a particular video game, but no one's actually made it into a movie as the core or main story. So that's something I'm working on, or I'm going to start working on. I haven't really started working on it, and I know my camera's all over the place right now. I'm trying to balance it in my hand, and it's not really working. But yeah, I thought about that. That might actually be my first film I actually end up writing. I don't know how messy my hair is. I can't really see. Don't have my contacts or glasses on. I will share my first story, Pace, right? It's a series. And I've had this idea for over a decade. I just never was able to flesh it out or plan it out appropriately. I always had these ideas for cool moments, plots, stories, but it was never cohesive. It never connected well, and it wasn't until last year that I actually sat down and decided I can actually make something out of this, and I just need to actually put effort into it and take time to sit down and write it. Just writing it. That's the biggest part for me, is just sitting down and writing it, because it's much easier to go back and edit something, right? Instead of worrying so much about making it right the first time. Honestly, I write stuff with the worst dialogue, and I pretty much just am trying to move the story along. That's all I'm trying to do initially. And then I'll go back and then let's fix up this dialogue, let's fix up the action, let's cut what we need to. Or does this not make sense? Do I need to add something else? And I end up doing that, and it works. It ends up doing better. But having a blank page can be difficult. It's even more difficult to never start something and then focus too much on what to do afterwards. So yeah, when it comes to my writing, the first draft is always the worst one, because again, I barely think about the dialogue so much, and more so just getting it on paper, because it's easier to edit a bad script than to edit a blank page. I forgot who said that. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I believe, said that. And even more so, it's easy to edit or cut down a long script than it is to write something small and have to extend it or try to add more. It's like an essay, and I approach it as an essay. So you have the beginning, the body, or the intro, the body, and the conclusion, right? And that's how I approach my stories, at least at the moment. I may end up adding acts further on into the, as I become more experienced writer and storyteller. And I approach it with the idea that if I was given a 5-page essay, right, a 5-page limit, I can write a 7-page essay and just decide to cut things out. It's pretty easy to cut things out, especially when you see, oh, I don't need to write this much. Or when you reach your limit or you reach your minimum, and you're like, well, this is all I need, I'm done. It is much more difficult when you're given a 5-page minimum and you only end up writing 3 pages with your conclusion, and you realize I have to do more research to try to BS the next 2 pages. I have 2 other stories or series that I'm working on called Clyshire and The Land. The Land, I think, I'm very excited for, because Clyshire and Pace, Pace has a character very much based on myself, and then Clyshire also has elements of me in it. And oftentimes, as with storytellers, a lot of times you make characters based off yourself or people you know, friends, peers, or people you just encountered in life. And a lot of times you see those, especially in the beginning work, because we're writing what we know. And I still say write what you know moving forward. Thing is that if I really want to expand and have variety on my storytelling, I need to do the research. I need to do the practice, just sitting down and writing, trying new things, studying different styles, and I think that's what makes me better. That is what The Land kind of is, because I am approaching it from a perspective of someone who is ignorant with the what goes into a lot of land ownership, especially acres of land. I do not know anyone that owns land. I do not own land. I grew up in cities and suburbs, didn't grow up in the countryside or any of that. I do not know the ins and out of the business to the extent of someone that's actually in it. And the characters I have introduced are characters with different backgrounds that I'm not familiar with, and I'm trying to do it justice or do it appropriately while still have a very intriguing story in it. And it's fun. Right, we got it right here. Let me see. Y'all see that? Here. Yeah, there we go. So this book, I really wish I got a different lens so I don't have to go all the way out. This book, though, is, what I bought. I mean, for one, I'm already interested in it. I've always thought about getting land eventually. But I got it because, it'll help with my story, right? Have an idea, see the perspective of the history of ownership for brown and black people, especially in America, the stuff that they've had to experience, and being able to implement that, because it's still happening today. I don't know if you guys saw the story about the people in Colorado getting harassed in a predominantly white owned land environment. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm gonna, hopefully I'll have something soon. Just got to sit down and think of, how I'm wanting to, by the way, I'm talking about The Land, not the other thing. My first film screenplay. I just got to sit down, plan it out, figure out where I want to go with it, what I want to give. And I think a lot of times I'll end up getting lost in just the fun of writing, and I do not always think about what am I trying to give to the audience, really. And so it ends up lost and ends up not having meaning. It ends up being more just there. It ends up just being most Disney movies. So yeah, that's what I'm really trying to do. And I'm adding a lot of elements, and I'm trying to be very careful with not putting my influences on my sleeve. Until next time, y'all take care of each other, check up on one another, check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit. I don't know how often I'm going to be walking around with the camera in my hand.